Lee Marvin was never a conventional Hollywood star, and that truth began long before cameras ever found him. Born on February 19, 1924, in New York City to an affluent family, Marvin rejected comfort early, carrying a restless defiance that shaped his life. His worldview hardened during World War II when he enlisted in the United States Marine Corps at just 18. Serving as a scout sniper in the Pacific, Marvin experienced combat firsthand, most notably during the Battle of Saipan, where he was gravely wounded by machine gun fire. Awarded the Purple Heart, he returned home with scars both visible and unseen. That experience etched itself into his bones, lending his performances a gravity that could never be taught. Marvin didn't act toughness, he lived it. War gave him discipline, pain, and an unshakable understanding of mortality, all of which later surfaced in the silent intensity that defined his most memorable characters. A chance encounter that changed everything. After the war, Lee Marvin drifted, unsure of what shape his life would take. Fate intervened in an unglamorous way while he was working as a plumber's assistant at a theater in upstate New York. When an actor failed to show up, Marvin was asked to step in. That unexpected moment ignited something dormant inside him. He soon began formal training, studying under respected acting teachers, and immersing himself in craft rather than celebrity. Marvin's physical presence, gravelly voice, and emotional restraint stood apart from polished leading men of the era. Throughout the 1950s, he worked relentlessly in television and film, often portraying villains, soldiers, or authority figures. Roles in The Big Heat and Bad Day at Black Rock revealed his ability to project menace without exaggeration. These performances weren't flashy, but they were unforgettable, establishing Marvin as an actor who conveyed truth through stillness rather than spectacle. Breaking through as an unlikely leading man, Lee Marvin's ascent wasn't swift, but it was undeniable. Television brought him into American homes through M Squad, where his portrayal of Lieutenant Frank Ballinger redefined the crime drama with grit and realism. Audiences believed him because he carried the weight of lived experience. Hollywood soon followed. The 1960s became Marvin's defining decade as he stepped into roles that challenged traditional heroism. Films like The Killers, The Professionals, and The Dirty Dozen placed him at the center of morally ambiguous stories where authority was earned, not assumed. Marvin's characters weren't polished leaders, they were men shaped by damage and duty. His Oscar-winning dual performance in Cat Ballou stunned critics, revealing a sharp comedic instinct beneath his hardened exterior. That role cemented him as a leading man who could balance menace, humor, and humanity without losing credibility. A private man in a public industry off-screen, Lee Marvin avoided the rituals of celebrity. He preferred fishing boats to film premieres, solitude to spotlight. Known for his blunt honesty and dry wit, Marvin wasn't interested in cultivating a public persona beyond his work. His personal life, however, was not without turmoil. His first marriage to Betty Ebeling unfolded during the most demanding years of his career, producing 4 children and significant strain. Fame brought distance, and distance brought fracture. Later relationships, particularly the highly publicized legal dispute with Michelle Triola, placed Marvin under scrutiny he deeply resented. Yet through all of it, his peers continued to respect him as a professional who showed up prepared and committed. Marvin never pretended to be gentle. He was authentic. That authenticity made him difficult at times, but it also made him trustworthy. In an industry built on illusion, Marvin stood as something stubbornly real. Paul Newman, a different kind of strength. Paul Newman represented a contrasting ideal in Hollywood, refined where Marvin was raw, introspective where Marvin was blunt. For years, Lee Marvin rarely spoke about Newman, allowing speculation to fill the silence. When he finally did, it wasn't with bitterness, but with clarity earned through time. Marvin acknowledged that Newman possessed something rare: discipline without arrogance, fame without corruption. He admired Newman's ability to disappear into roles without drawing attention to himself, whether in HUD, The Hustler, or Cool Hand Luke. Marvin once noted that Newman never chased validation, a quality he quietly respected. While their paths crossed professionally and they were sometimes considered for similar roles, Marvin viewed Newman not as a rival, but as a mirror reflecting a different way to survive Hollywood. Their approaches diverged, but their commitment to craft aligned in ways Marvin didn't fully appreciate until later. Competition, pride, and honest reflection. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Lee Marvin admitted that competition existed, even if unspoken. There were roles Newman landed that Marvin wanted, and he didn't pretend otherwise. At the height of their careers, pride made admiration difficult to express. Marvin later acknowledged that Newman often earned those opportunities through preparation and restraint rather than force. What changed with age was perspective. Marvin came to understand that success wasn't about dominance, but endurance. Newman's ability to maintain a stable family life, avoid excess, and use fame responsibly stood in contrast to Marvin's more self-destructive years. Rather than diminishing him, this realization deepened Marvin's respect. He recognized that strength could look different, sometimes quieter, sometimes steadier. Breaking his silence wasn't about comparison, it was about honesty. Marvin understood that admiration delayed is still admiration, and regret unspoken serves no one. Respect beyond the screen. What impressed Lee Marvin most wasn't Paul Newman's box office success, but his choices off-screen. Newman's devotion to Joanne Woodward, his avoidance of scandal, and his commitment to philanthropy left a lasting impression. Marvin openly praised Newman's charitable efforts, particularly Newman's own and the Hole in the Wall Gang Camp, initiatives that transformed fame into tangible good. Having witnessed the darker side of celebrity, Marvin viewed these acts as proof that integrity could survive success. He admitted that ego often stood in the way for men like himself, preventing them from doing more with what they had. Newman, in Marvin's eyes, managed to keep his soul intact in an industry that frequently erodes it. This acknowledgement wasn't sentimental, it was grounded in lived experience. Marvin didn't romanticize Newman. He respected him as a man who chose responsibility over indulgence. Declining health and quiet resolve. By the mid-1980s, the consequences of Lee Marvin's hard-living years caught up with him. Decades of smoking, drinking, and physical strain weakened his body. In late 1986, he was hospitalized with a severe respiratory illness linked to valley fever, which led to respiratory distress. Aggressive treatment, including high-dose steroids, saved his life but triggered serious complications, including intestinal ruptures that required major surgery. Marvin endured it all with characteristic stoicism, refusing self-pity. Those close to him noted that while his body weakened, his resolve did not. His wartime resilience resurfaced, carrying him through pain with quiet dignity. Though he continued to work when possible, it was clear his strength was fading. He faced mortality not with fear, but acceptance, having long understood the cost of survival. Marvin didn't dramatize his suffering. He endured it. The final chapter of a reluctant legend. Lee Marvin died of a heart attack on August 29, 1987, at the age of 63, closing the chapter on one of Hollywood's most uncompromising careers. He left behind a body of work that reshaped the action, war, and Western genres, not through spectacle, but authenticity. Marvin never sought to be liked. He sought to be honest. His late reflections on Paul Newman revealed more about Marvin than Newman, a man capable of humility, self-examination, and respect even when it arrived late. Breaking his silence wasn't a headline, it was a confession. In acknowledging Newman's integrity, Marvin also confronted his own regrets and values. That honesty humanized him in ways his toughest roles never could. Lee Marvin remains remembered not just for his grit, but for the rare courage to speak truth when silence would have been easier.